This week we're going to learn about two Torah portions that we're going to read together this weekend. The first one is Vayakhel, and the second is Pekudei. So, this is the end of the book of Exodus, which means after this, the book of Exodus is over, and we begin the book of Vayikra, Leviticus. I would split the book of Exodus into two parts. The first is the story of the actual Exodus, the Israelites leaving Egypt, God taking the Israelites out of Egypt. And the second part is all about the building of the Mishkan. When the Israelites left Egypt, they were brought to Mount Sinai, they were given the Torah, and there they made a golden calf. They were punished for that golden calf, and then perhaps in response, God gives Moses directions for building this Mishkan. The Mishkan is a tabernacle, a portable dwelling place for God that's made of gold, of silver, of copper, of all kinds of fine materials like blue linen, purple linen, skins. It's a pretty intricate kind of tent-like structure which God is meant to dwell in. For the last couple Torah portions, Moses has been receiving instructions on how to build the Mishkan. So starting in this Torah portion, Vayakhel, and then also in Pekudei, the Mishkan is actually built, and happy ending, God dwells in the Mishkan at the end of the book of Exodus. So we'll begin in the beginning of the Torah portion, and we're going to first be instructed on the laws of Shabbat. It starts with Vayakhel Moshe et kol adat b'nei Yisrael vayomer alehem ele hadavarim asher tzivah Hashem la'asot otam. These are the words that God commanded to do. What is it? You'd think it would be build the Mishkan, but it starts with Sheshit Yamim ta'aseh melacha uvayom hashvi'i yeh lachem kodesh Shabbat Shabbaton laHashem. It starts with 6 days, you shall do melacha, translated as work. And on the seventh day, it should be for you a holy Sabbath to God. Kol ha'oseh bo melacha yumat. All those who do melacha, work on that day, shall be put to death. Obviously, that's a little harsh. But the point is that we don't do melacha on that seventh day. We should definitely start by talking about that word, melacha, because it's only used in relation to 3 things in the entire Torah. The first is Shabbat. On Shabbat, we're not allowed to do melacha. The first time it was used in the whole Torah portion is in Ma'aseh Bereshit. That's the creation of the world. It says that on the 7th day, God ceased doing all the melacha of creation. God's creating the world was melacha, was in that category of work. And then finally, the last time we see the word melacha, the third time, the only other thing that melacha is used in connection to is building this Mishkan. It says toward the end of Pekudei, I'm looking here at chapter 39, verse 43, it says, Vayar Moshe et kol ha-melacha, v'hine asu ota ka'asher tzivah Hashem ken asu v'yivarech ota Moshe. It says, and Moses saw all of the melacha, all of the work that the Israelites did to build the Mishkan. So 3 things. And so all of the prohibited things that from Shabbat, the things we're not allowed to do, because the word melacha is used only in relation to the Mishkan, and of course the creation of the world. We don't create the world, but we've created a Mishkan. And any work that was used to create the Mishkan, to do the melacha of the Mishkan, becomes the melacha that we can't do on Shabbat. For instance, in the Mishkan, writing was used in order to distinguish which posts go into which sockets in the walls of the Mishkan. So, on Shabbat, we don't write. Another example is animals, were killed for the use of the Mishkan, for sacrifices. And so on Shabbat, we don't kill animals for the purpose of eating them. Another one is less gruesome. The Mishkan was covered in a tent, and so on Shabbat we also don't make tents. That's how it works. Any malacha, any work that was done for the creation of the Mishkan, becomes the work that we're not allowed to do on Shabbat. So that's how it starts. And then Vayakhel continues with God selecting particular people who are going to lead the labor. It's very intricate. To actually build the Mishkan, you need somebody who knows how to smelt and shape gold and copper and silver. You need somebody who's an expert in sewing fine fabrics and tanning skins, in carpentry, in taking wood and making posts. It's very difficult to build a Mishkan. And so God, in chapter 35, verse 30, chooses Bezalel and Oholiab to be the two craftsmen who are going to oversee all of the labor of the Mishkan. That is to say, the creation of the Mishkan. And so in Vayakhel, we actually build it. Moses had a vision from God about what this should look like. He shared this vision with Bezalel and Oholiab, and then they, in turn, shared it with the Israelites and, kind of led the labor there. So first, they build the curtains, they build the cover for the Mishkan, the planks for the walls, they build the partitions that are going to separate the different sections of the Mishkan. They build the ark that's going to house the 10 commandments, both the ones that Moses broke as well as the ones that Moses rewrote. They build the table for the showbread. They build the menorah, the incense altar. And then they build also, there's two altars. There's an incense altar inside and an altar on the outside for animal sacrifices. They build that one. Everything they build. The hand washing cup. They build the walls. They even sew and create clothing for the priests. In chapter 39, the details of, we've already received the details, intricate details of how to build each one of these pieces. Now, we kind of repeat it again, and we're seeing them actually being put together. So, for instance, we've already learned about Aaron's clothing and what they look like, and then finally, here in chapter 39, they're sewn together in perfect detail to what we saw earlier in the book of Exodus. Now, in chapter 39, verse 43, where I had mentioned earlier, the Israelites bring all of the materials to Moses, and they kind of leave it there. They don't build it. They bring Moses all the raw materials. Not raw, the processed materials, like the posts. They bring Moses the tent that's actually going to go, the layers of the tents that's going to go on top of the Mishkan. They bring Moses the menorah. They bring Moses the altars. Every piece of the Mishkan is brought to Moses. It says in verse 42 and 43, like everything that Hashem commanded Moses, so the children of Israel performed all the labor. Moses saw the entire work, and behold, they had done it as God had commanded, so had they done. And Moses blessed them. They did all of the melacha correctly. They built all the parts of the Mishkan. They brought it to Moses. So now, God will actually tell Moses when to put up the Mishkan. So that's chapter 40. It says, God spoke to Moses, saying, on the day of the first new moon, on the first of the month, you shall set up the tabernacle, the tent of meeting. And so Moses does. Alone, it seems. He is the one who actually builds the Mishkan himself. That is to say, puts it together. He doesn't process all the materials, but he puts it together. He dresses Aaron and his sons, his brothers, and his nephews as Kohanim, as priests. And We'll read the last few verses of Pekudei together, the last verses of the book of Exodus. Let's say, starting at verse 33. Moses erected the courtyard all around the tabernacle and the altar, and he emplaced the curtain of the gate of the courtyard, so Moses completed the work. Notice, Vayakhel Moshe et hamelacha. Moses completed the work. And notably, this mirrors the language of God completing the creation of the world. Let's see if we can find that together. Vayakhel Moshe et hamelacha. Notice in chapter, if you would turn back to chapter 2, verse 2, at the end of God created the world, Vayachal Elohim bayom hashvi'i melachto. God finished on the seventh day melachto, his melacha. Here we have the same word, Vayachal and melacha, in the same sentence. Vayachal Moshe et hamelacha, which is to say that this Mishkan, in the same way that the world is kind of like a container for God, God, we kind of feel God in moments, unexpected moments here on earth, so too the Mishkan also houses God in a similar way. That the Mishkan itself is almost like a small world here for God's presence to dwell in. So we have Vayakhel Moshe et hamelacha, and Moses completed the melacha. And here's how the book ends, book of Exodus. The cloud covered the tent of meeting, and the glory of Hashem filled the tabernacle. Moses could not enter the tent of meeting, for the cloud rested upon him. And the glory of God filled the tabernacle. When the cloud was raised up from the tabernacle, the children of Israel would embark on their journeys. If the cloud did not rise up, they would not embark until the day it rose up. For the cloud of Hashem would be on the tabernacle by day, and fire would be on it by night, before the eyes of all the house of Israel throughout their journeys. So this Mishkan is actually going to be critical as far as their journey in the desert, not just in order to dwell with God, but they're actually going to follow God, and God is going to lead the way throughout their journeys in the desert. So with that, that is the end of the book of Exodus, Parashat Vayakhel-Pekudei, and Shavua Tov, and Shabbat Shalom for next week.